Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mr. Action back at you with another episode of Packed In Action Figure Reviews, where we give you that action that's packed in. And on today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Retro Collection Kingpin. And guys, I'm super excited that Hasbro decided that they were going to give this figure a reissue. That way, for those of us who did not get the opportunity to pick it up when it was first initially released, we do now have the opportunity to get it this time. Now, we have had previous iterations of this figure before. I do believe that there is a similar Kingpin that uses the same body. However, the color scheme for it, we do have him in his all white suit. So I was pretty excited to kind of get the versatility as far as, you know, the clothing. Very excited to have this figure and to review it with you guys today. And if you happen to be looking for this guy, I was actually able to find him at my local store in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and that's going to be at Plastic Universe. So shout out to Plastic Universe. You guys always get, you know, the latest and greatest collectibles, and it's always a pleasure, you know, to go inside there and speak with you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin, out of the packaging. And I can honestly say that Hasbro did a phenomenal job at the execution of this figure. I am very pleased to have picked them up from Plastic Universe. As I mentioned before, we did have a previous iteration of this figure, which happened to be a Build-A-Figure. And unfortunately, at the time, you know, I was not able to capture each figure to build it himself. So to see that Hasbro decided to reissue it, I was super excited to grab it. Definitely a lot of fun to have with this figure, man. I'm falling in love with the aesthetic look of, you know, just the outfit and the whole mob persona that's going on with this Kingpin. In my honest opinion, I probably would prefer Kingpin in these colors as opposed to him being in his all white. So very grateful that, you know, we do have, you know, this aesthetic setup with this Kingpin. I do like the alternative head that we got, as it does show a lot of emotion, as well as his staff. And I really like the playability factor. I really like that, you know, he plays well with others, you know, just getting him posed up with, you know, Daredevil, Elektra, and Spider-Man. I had a lot of fun. Now, this figure unfortunately does have some flaws, very minor, and we will get into them as we get into the review, but overall very excited to have this figure and to go over it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into more details. So first things first, jumping right into the accessories with this Kingpin, he does come with this alternative head, and I really do like the attention to detail here. This was actually before the digital printing of the Hasbro days, and I can honestly say that despite the fact that this figure does not have any digital printing as far as the paint, I still do think that the paint work is relatively pretty clean. The only complaint I really have with this Kingpin is going to be in the eyes. It does seem like the eye is a bit misplaced, so it kind of does give him like a cockeyed look. I don't know if that's going to be like a QC issue on mine or if your figure looks like that. The next thing I want to take a look at is the intricacies of, you know, just the detail and the wrinkles and some of the vein work here on the head. As we can see, you know, Hasbro team did a very good job at, you know, capturing, you know, the expression on Kingpin. And I do believe that this, you know, head sculpt is going to be great for you to have, you know, some, you know, dynamic poses with your Kingpin, whether you have him fighting or getting beaten up. I definitely do feel like this here is an exceptionally well done head sculpt. The next thing that Kingpin actually has is his staff here, and I really do like, you know, the attention to detail here, especially with, you know, the crystal up here. We can see that it is translucent, so if I do put my hand behind there, you can actually see with the way that it is designed that it is going to reflect light in, you know, all the places. So I do think that's really cool, especially for it being, you know, on a 1/12 scale. Then we also do have this little gold piece here, and it does seem like it does have some kind of metallic sheen on there, which I think is a nice touch of detail. I do have this little nick here. I'm not sure if that's a QC issue or if yours looks like that, but if yours does look like that, please let me know. And then here we do have, you know, the elongated portion of the staff, and you know, it's pretty flat plastic, really nothing out of the ordinary, but I think for what it is, it really works. The only thing I do wish is if we could actually have some alternative hands. I definitely feel like it would have gave, you know, Fisk here a lot more versatility in his poses, but for the most part, very pleased with the accessories he comes with. Now jumping off over into the aesthetics, I do definitely feel like the Hasbro team did a phenomenal job at capturing Kingpin in his very classic retro look. You know, especially in the comics, we do see Kingpin wear this outfit quite often. Apart from this, we also do have him in his all white suit as well. But I did think that they did a pretty good job at just capturing, you know, that Kingpin essence. You know, this is a pretty big dude. He is imposing. But, you know, starting here off with the head, we do also have some more nice wrinkle work in there. Again, this is before digital printing days, but, you know, despite the fact, I still do think that this is a relatively very decent head sculpt, man. We do see some nice wrinkle work there in the head, so it's nice to know that it's not flat plastic. Then moving up here into the suit, I definitely do feel like they did a phenomenal job with the suit, man. I definitely feel like it captures, you know, the imposing nature of Kingpin. Starting over here with, you know, this little portion here, I kind of do wish that we did have some, you know, some black wash just to kind of help bring out the details, but I do feel like, you know, there is enough mold work in there to kind of make up for it. Then coming over here to the suit, I want to say it's a flat plastic, but there does seem to be some kind of like very subtle design. Then over here, taking a look at, you know, the handkerchief, it is painted on there. I do have a little bit of paint outside of the line work. Then over here, taking a look at the side of his suit, I really do like the seam work that Hasbro has been doing here in this suit. We do see that there is some detail in there, as well as some buttons here over here to the side. And then he also does have what appears to be like a black undershirt underneath that. So really like that. We do have some more buttons here, as well as some fake flaps here, but I do overall like the wrinkle work here in the shoulders. It is very nicely you know, detailed, and I'm very pleased with it. And I really did feel like Hasbro did a phenomenal job with, you know, capturing, you know, that mob boss look. Then coming over here, taking a look at the body, you know, again, this is a really big dude. I do see though that there is a slight variation in color in the orange, from up top being a bit darker and the bottom being a little bit lighter. I don't know if that's, you know, a plastic issue, because I do know sometimes that paint can alter how the plastic looks, but that is something to note. The other thing to note, Tate, is you know, the durability of, you know, the jacket here. I did find that when handling it, you know, there does seem to be some oils and dirts from your hand that might go on there, or even a little bit of possible paint rub. I did have some paint rub on the portion on the back of mine. I don't know if you guys can see the purple there, but that is something to look out for. Then coming over here to the legs, we do have some minimal wrinkle work in the pants, which I think is really good. We also do have some very nice seam lines here, and you know, they came out very well. The seam lines are followed up by some wrinkles in the lower legs, and I think it came out really good, man. You know, even here with the gator boots, I definitely do like, you know, the attention to detail as far as texture is concerned. You know, a lot of times when we get, you know, dress shoes like this, you know, sometimes, you know, the figures that I have, they're mainly flat, so it is nice to see, you know, the mix up here with this. Overall, man, I just think it's an overall imposing Kingpin, and I think that, you know, Hasbro really did their homework as far as, you know, referencing the comic and, you know, even possibly the animated series to come up with such a very well, you know, aesthetically pleasing looking figure. Also, if you wanted to give your Kingpin an alternative look, you can actually take off the jacket, and I honestly don't feel like it looks too bad. I kind of feel like it just looks like he's wearing his vest with his undershirt. I will be honest and say that, you know, the sleeve area is a bit thick, so, you know, the illusion, you know, all depending on how hard you're looking at it, you can make it work or you cannot make it work. But I do feel like, you know, with the buttons here, as well as some of the seam work here on the, you know, on the back of the shirt, I do feel like, you know, if you did want, you know, your Kingpin to have, you know, a different kind of look, this was something that you know, were able to achieve. So if you want an alternative look, remove that jacket. It doesn't really look too bad in my opinion. Now jumping over into the articulation of this Kingpin. Obviously Kingpin is going to be a very big character, so I was not really expecting too much as far as articulation is concerned. However, despite these concerns, I was able to still get him posed up relatively pretty decent, so the articulation isn't too bad at all. So going ahead, starting off with the head, we do have his head on a ball peg and on a hinge, so it is going to allow him to look up about this much, which I think is, you know, up pretty high. You know, Kingpin is going to be generally taller than most characters, and then he can look down about this much, which you know, it's not as far as it moving up, but I feel like it's down enough. So that's how he is going to be looking down. Then over here to the arms, he can get into that T-man pose despite his bulkiness, so I am very excited that he is able to do that. He does not have double jointed elbows, unfortunately, due to his size, but I do feel like there is enough bend in the elbows to the point where, you know, you can get roughly about a 90-degree angle. We also do get a forearm swivel here. His arms can go 360. His fist here, they are on hinges, so they do go down about this much and they can come up about that much as so. Then coming over here to the diaphragm, we do have a diaphragm swivel. He can go side to side as such. He also does have some pivoting, but you are going to have to put a little bit of pressure on there. I apologize, guys, this foot keeps coming off. I am going to mention that shortly. And then he also can go back about this much, which, you know, it's not the furthest back of motion that you can go, but if you put a little bit of force on there, you can kind of make it, you know, go back a little bit. And then coming forward, you're not going to really get that much. So as far as the diaphragm or ab, you know, area over there, you're not going to really get too much movement, but you can get some pivoting. Then coming over here into the legs, this is perhaps really the only issue that I've had with this figure. Now, because this figure is a builder figure, unfortunately, it can come easily apart here on the legs. Unfortunately, these pegs here, they're not deep enough. I feel like if they were a little bit deeper, they would be able to peg in here without coming off. But despite that, he does have a thigh cut here, 360 degrees. He does not have double jointed elbows, but they are, you know, pretty decent enough to where you almost get about a 90-degree angle, so it's not too bad there. And it also does swivel here at the bottom as well. Then for the feet, they are on hinges. They do go down about this much. They do go up about this much. And they also do have the pivot going side to side. The one thing I will say with this character, unfortunately, is because of how the design here in the pants is, sometimes when you do have them standing in certain poses, it can be a little bit tough to have them standing. But apart from that, I am very pleased with the, you know, amount of articulation that we got, you know, with this Kingpin, despite the fact that he is, you know, relatively a big guy. So very pleased with the articulation. And now for some size comparisons. Over there to the right, we do have the Walgreens exclusive Daredevil. Then we also have Elektra from the Spiderman Retrocard Collection. And here he is next to the retro-carded Spidey. And here we have Kingpin next to Tombstone himself. And I really like how both of these figures complement one another with their nice suits. Then for some more distinguished gentleman action over there, we also do have Moreland. I always want to say Morbius for some reason, but we do have Moreland. And for some big eye comparisons, over there to the right, we do have the 2-pack Juggernaut. And here we have him next to the Blob. And here our Kingpin is next to Colossus. And as far as the size for this Kingpin goes, I definitely do feel like, you know, the size for him is relatively decent. So, after all is said and done, I think Hasbro did a phenomenal job at the execution of this figure, and I am very pleased to have found him at Plastic Universe and to, you know, take him out of the packaging and just get him posed up. I definitely do feel like this figure does have a lot of strong points as far as the aesthetics. I do like the attention to detail with, you know, some of the wrinkle work in the forehead and even into the suit. Despite those pros, unfortunately, this figure also does suffer from some cons, and one of those cons happens to be the durability in the thighs or in the legs. Unfortunately, as I stated before, since this was previously a Build-A figure, you know, there is not much security in the peg with the legs, so just be a bit mindful in the handling of the legs when dealing with the Kingpin. But honestly, apart from that one minor issue, I can honestly say that I had a lot of fun posing up this Kingpin, and I'm really happy that I was able to find him. If I had to give this Kingpin an overall rating, I give him a solid 8. You know, I'm not really expecting too much from the articulation with this figure, but the aesthetic wise, I feel like it checks all the boxes that most of you guys would have want in a Kingpin figure. So with that being said, once again, it's Mr. Action, and thanks for checking out another episode of Packed in Action Figure Reviews, where we give you that action that's packed in. But before you guys go, I would like to ask a favor. If you like the content that you've watched on this channel so far, please do me a favor and like and subscribe, as well as comment, as it tremendously helps out my channel and the YouTube algorithm. I would greatly appreciate it. You guys have a good one. Have a good day.